Part 44. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 432. Sit down. Then he smiled at everyone. Yan Yu looked at Zhang Huai and saw him nodding towards him before walking over. As for Zhang Lin, he was the first to walk over and had already chosen Len Ning's home position. After Yan Yu chose the seat opposite Len Ning, Zhang Huai took the seat next to Len Ning. How to play? Zhang Lin asked Len Ning with a smile. I only know Sichuan Mahjong, Len Ning said. Zhang Lin's expression froze and he looked at Zhang Huai. I can't, Zhang Huai said truthfully. Zhang Lin. This is simple, teacher Zhang, I will teach you, Len Ning said excitedly. Then he pressed the hemp button and a deck of cards came out. Then he enthusiastically told Zhang Huai the rules and playing methods of Mahjong. Zhang Huai is a top student and has been a teacher for several years. He naturally learns quickly and learned it quickly. How do you calculate the money? Yan Yu asked slightly nervously. His family is not weak, but since he is already working, his family has stopped giving him money for a long time. Although he is now in charge of Quanglan Base's largest procurement business, because of his close relationship with Teacher Zhang, the senior staff have been keeping an eye on him. Teacher Zhang also told him in advance not to make small moves, so he was really poor. At least compared to several people at the table, he should be the poorest. Glancing at Zhang Lin's smiling expression, Zhang Huai felt a little worried. When it comes to financial resources, he is really not as good as Zhang Lin. Let's play with 200. Fire 200 and draw 400. Add more, no limit, Zhang Lin said with a smile, looking at Len Ning. Yeah. We're all friends, let's just have fun, Len Ning said with a smile. Yan Yu's expression was instantly uglier than crying. Simply playing? The bottom of 200 is not yet capped. If you accidentally end up at the end, you might lose 5 or 6,000 in one hand. His monthly salary is only 800, so he doesn't do this, right? Yan Yu said and looked at Zhang Huai. Zhang Huai also felt unhappy in his heart. But he could only give Yan Yu a look of affirmation. Yan Yu was worried, so he could only bite the bullet. Zhang Lin caught a glimpse of the two people's reactions, and the anger in his heart finally dissipated. You two poor guys, let's see how I deal with you. Let's start. Len Ning had already started playing a new set of cards. Then the mahjong begins. Because Yan Yu was the poorest, he walked in the front 2 times in a row, and it was who's Zhang Lin. Although Zhang Lin was a little angry, he easily controlled his emotions. They were all small cards, and it only cost 400 if he cheated them twice, which was a good deal. Obviously they are all good cards that can be made big, but they only deal with small cards. At first glance, they are courageous. If you don't have the guts to play cards, you won't be much better if you are afraid of doing things in reality. Only Zhang Huai can like him. How can Yan Yu have so many thoughts? He has a small family, a small business, and can run away when he can. Because I was the first to play cards, I quickly earned a small 400, and I felt very happy. This is half a month's salary. The second, third, and self-touched ones are usually Len Ning. Her cards are generally relatively strong, so that both Zhang Huai and Zhang Lin lose a lot to her. Especially Zhang Lin, who deliberately made things difficult for Len Ning and played cards to make her misbehave. Lost a lot of chips to Len Ning. After a few more rounds, Zhang Lin finally started to talk about the topic. Miss Len, I haven't even been to your Thunder base. I wonder when I will be lucky enough to visit you, Zhang Lin asked Len Ning with a smile. There was a flash of fluctuation in Zhang Huai's eyes and he touched a card. Yan Yu glanced nervously at Zhang Huai, then looked at Len Ning. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 433. Len Ning's lips raised. Thunder Base welcomes foreign visitors. If the young master wants to go, Just send someone to apply directly to the Thunder military headquarters. Len Ning lightly rejected. Zhang Lin, eldest brother, just gave me the position of the leader of the 5th branch, and they gave me a large piece of territory. Since Yu Kuanglan came back, I have to be busy with those things. I'm afraid I won't be able to entertain you well. Divided the territory, Zhang Lin grasped the key point. Yes. It's Kongzhen behind the Thunder base. Brother said let me use it. Len Ning said with a smile. Young Master Zhang, it's your turn to draw the card. Zhang Lin's eyes flashed. A town? Oh, okay. Zhang Lin hurriedly touched the cards. 2 tubes. Zhang Lin touched it and took a look at it. He found that it was useless, so Zhang Lin immediately threw it away. Hey, wait a minute. Bang. Len Ning looked happy and immediately took out 3 tubes. Then he excitedly touched the cards. Zhang Lin had a smile on his face and didn't mind Len Ning playing his cards at all. That's really congratulations. Zhang Lin looked at Len Ning with a smile. 3 pieces. Len Ning played 1 Kong card after that. Congratulations. The territory is too big and I don't have enough manpower. I can't handle it at all. Len Ning had a look of irritation on his face. The eldest brother also said that the vegetable base is too small now and asked me to move to Kongzhen. As soon as these words came out, the 3 people at the table looked at Len Ning. Is the vegetable base going to expand? This is great news. I'm too busy with my own affairs at the branch, so how can I take care of the vegetable base? Len Ning said with some complaint. 1 tube. Zhang Huai threw out a card. Hey, wait. Bang, Len Ning was so excited that he took out 3 more tubes. Everyone looked at each other with a tacit understanding. Len Ning touched the card and threw out another 9 tube. Now that the entire survivors in Cydia are living on the vegetable base, Hall Master Len doesn't have any plans or arrangements, Zhang Huai asked. Len Ning glanced at Zhang Huai. It's rare that after playing cards for so long, I finally talked to her. Zhang Huai reached for the cards. There are some arrangements. Len Ning curled his lips and said, looking like he didn't care much. Before I came here, some bases actually came to me and said they wanted to send people to me to help me work. The 3 people at the table were startled. Some thoughts suddenly came to mind. It would indeed be a good idea if we could send some workers to work at the Thunder base. Firstly, it solves the problem of overpopulation of surplus labor force. Secondly, people who go to the Thunder base may be able to discover some secrets inside. But I refused, Len Ning said calmly. Everyone's hearts sank. Why refuse? Aren't you in short supply of people? Zhang Lin asked quickly. Len Ning glanced at Zhang Lin and said, you are not one of my own after all, so I don't worry about it. Then Len Ning sighed. Then, I got some new ideas. What do you think? Zhang Lin asked. Zhang Huai and Yan Yu also looked at Len Ning. I want to buy some people back. The scene was quiet for a while. Then, after Len Ning glanced at Yan Yu, the card game continued. Buy someone? The population determines the size of the base, and the future development of the base depends on the population. Although there is currently a surplus of labor in all major bases, it is inappropriate to sell people to the Thunder base. Don't be so nervous. Although I intend to buy some people from you on this trip to Kuanglan, it's all about your will, Len Ning said with a smile. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 434. Zhang Lin and Zhang Huai looked at each other without saying anything. Although they are now in a competitive relationship, Kuanglan base represents their common interests. At this time, none of them dared to accept Len Ning's words easily. Furthermore, although human trafficking has occurred in major bases after the apocalypse, these things have always been carried out only in private and have not been made public at all. Whether it is the Thunder base or the Quanglan base, they are both big and reputable bases in City A. It is unlikely that the highest levels of both parties will agree to facilitate such a deal, which will harm their face. Len Ning's words were probably not echoed by Mr. Lei. Len Ning glanced at the two brothers who looked evasive, and said with a smile, although it is said to be a buyer, it is different from the way of buying in a brothel. Zhang Huai glanced at Len Ning, his eyes a little complicated. Although he knew that his student had grown a lot, he still felt a little uncomfortable when he heard the word house from her mouth. To put it nicely, we can also call it immigration. Len Ning's eyes sparkled. After you pass, you will automatically give up your status as a resident of Quanglan base. Then, after working there for 5 years, you can officially obtain your status as a resident of Thunder base. The expressions of the three people changed slightly. Finally figured out Len Ning's true purpose. This girl is here to rob someone. And he did so many stunts. I actually know the situation of all the major bases. There is generally a surplus of labor now. And the Thunder base is developing too fast and is short of people. Especially where I am at this point. Len Ning frowned slightly. So, if you Quanglan can give me some people, I will repay you. After saying these words, everyone stopped playing cards on the card table. Zhang Lin and Zhang Huai looked complicated. Len Ning's request made them very embarrassed. A large base like Quanglan would naturally not be willing to remain subordinate to others. If you really send someone away, you won't come back in the future. If the base wants to become bigger and stronger, population is very important. Before I came here, I had someone say hello to Rongguang base. I heard that they are very willing. As long as the conditions are right, I believe there are still many bases willing to cooperate with me. Len Ning said, I really don't want to. I will force you to do so. What conditions did you offer? Zhang Lin became a little anxious when he heard that Rongguang base was already willing to agree. Haha, why are you looking like this? Len Ning glanced at Zhang Lin and motioned for him to touch the cards. Zhang Lin calmed down the anxious look on his face and reached out to touch the cards. 9 items. Zhang Lin didn't find what he wanted, so he hit him directly. Len Ning just wanted to speak. What a nonsense! Yan Yu, who had not interrupted, suddenly said. For a moment everyone looked at Yan Yu. Zhang Lin frowned. This damn kid keeps staring at me. Yan Yu scratched his head in embarrassment. I'm sorry, young master, this is the last 9 cards. In fact, he felt very happy. What's wrong with just staring at you? Can an upright person hit me? Zhang Lin looked away unhappily and continued to touch the cards. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth. I haven't thought about it yet. Anyway, I will probably increase the crop quota, and then give some priority purchasing rights. Of course, I will also give away more grain. Len Ning said without taking it seriously. Zhang Lin's eyes flashed. Increase crop quotas? Give priority to purchase? And give extra food as a gift? The reason why Quanglan base cannot develop now is largely because of insufficient food. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kge Now. Chapter 435. If more crops could be purchased from the vegetable base, Quanglan would definitely not be what it is now. Zhang Huai frowned slightly and did not answer. Len Ning's words struck a chord with them. Quanglan really needs the supplies from the vegetable base. After all, if they are willing to give me people, I will use these manpower for the construction of the vegetable base, and then the production capacity of the vegetable base will be increased. Len Ning continued, the higher output should naturally be sold to them first. What Len Ning said was extremely reasonable. But if you analyze it carefully, you can find something wrong. It's true that her vegetable base is short of manpower, but it can't be an astronomical number. She clearly meant to buy a large number of people. Of course, in addition to the vegetable base, I also lack people to build the new site in Kongtown. After the construction of Kongtown is completed, I am also planning to build a winery and a poultry factory. Len Ning glanced at the two Zhang brothers. To draw cards. Hey, I'll touch it. Len Ning was overjoyed when he touched the card he wanted. Then, only the two Zhang brothers were left playing against each other on the card table. Winery, Zhang Lin asked stutteringly. In the morning, he heard Len Ning talk about building a winery, but he didn't take it seriously, thinking that she wouldn't do that in the short term. After all, she can handle just the vegetable and grain business. Winemaking consumes particularly large amounts of fruit and grain. Now I heard her mention it again. Looking at this, it turns out that preparations are really being made. There are also poultry plants. Although the residents of Thunder Base can already eat meat, meat is extremely precious and is in limited supply. In order to meet its own needs, the Thunder Base is unwilling to sell to outsiders at all. Len Ning wants to build a poultry factory, probably for export. In their Quanglan base, even the first-class restaurants like Ruyahu didn't have any meat dishes to eat. It is conceivable that once Len Ning sells poultry, the business will be booming. Yeah, Len Ning responded. Is it necessary? All the major bases are in serious shortage of food now. Zhang Huai frowned. Yan Yu also looked at Len Ning. Some think she is wasting resources. It's necessary. Len Ning didn't notice the frowns of Zhang Huai and Yan Yu, and said with a smile, I only hold half of the shares of the vegetable base, but I can take full possession of the winery and poultry farm. Grain is the foundation of everything. Selling grain to others is to make money. Keeping the grain to make wine and feed poultry is also to make money. It depends on how she chooses. Len Ning's words shocked the three people at the table. A businessman pursues profits, but after all, she is Lei Ting's sister, who is really good at business. Len Ning's words also sounded the alarm in the hearts of the three of them. Previously, they thought that as the production of vegetable bases expanded, the purchasing shares of major bases would definitely increase accordingly. But now it seems that Len Ning wants to develop these food-consuming industries. Even if the production of the vegetable base expands, she can consume the extra production capacity on her own. What's more, as long as she is determined, she can do more food-related industries and consume the ever-increasing vegetable and grain production capacity. This is the power of monopoly. No one can compete with her, and she alone has the final say in the market. At this moment, the way the three of them looked at Len Ning changed. There was some fear in my heart, but more respect on my face. Actually, it's also a good thing for you to sell people to me. Len Ning curled his lips and said. He was very satisfied with the way the three of them looked at him. Good thing. The three of them felt uneasy. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 436. If we get rid of these surplus labor, Quanglan Base can develop its own business as soon as possible, right? Len Ning said with a smile. At this point, the Rongguang Base is more aware than them. The three of them looked shocked. Zhang Lin's eyes were filled with emotion. Now many ordinary people without jobs in the Quanglan Base can only live on the materials they receive. These people consume a lot of food and materials every day, which has always caused headaches for the senior officials. According to Len Ning, if they are sent to the Thunder Base, not only can they establish a good relationship with the Thunder Base and get more food and supplies, but they can also solve their current predicament. It's truly a win-win result. Thinking of this, Zhang Lin looked at Zhang Huai. Zhang Huai's eyes were dark and he said nothing. Haha, okay, don't think too much. Hurry up and draw the cards. Len Ning said with a smile, once again acting like he wasn't paying much attention. Zhang Lin's face tightened, he took his eyes away from Len Ning and went to touch the cards. 50,000. When he realized that it wasn't what he wanted, he hit him directly. Hu Zhang Huai said calmly. Then he pushed down his cards. All in one color, plus bars, 3 times. At this time, Len Ning also pushed down his cards, also 3 times. Next came Yan Yu's, and coincidentally, it was also the third one. Zhang Lin's face turned a little dark, and he suspected that he was suffering from bad luck today. Keep going, Len Ning said with a smile regardless of Zhang Lin's feelings. Then he turned on the machine switch and pushed the cards out. Soon, new cards were played and the playing continued. If Quanglin base allows some people to immigrate to Thunder, what conditions can you give? Zhang Huai said suddenly. Suddenly, the scene was quiet. Even Zhang Lin looked at Zhang Huai. Len Ning was stunned for a moment. Do you think you can make the decision over at the Thunder base? Zhang Lin asked. His face was serious and there was no sarcasm in his tone, as if he was very concerned about this. Len Ning curled her lips and looked at Zhang Lin. Of course I can make the decision. Big Brother has given me this power before leaving. Next, the buyer will come back to build Kongzhen for me, and the condition is that I pay for it myself. Len Ning looked confident. Zhang Lin and Zhang Huai looked at each other, and their eyes turned affirmative. Except Rongguang base, Quanglin is the first company to know the news. If you are willing to sell my labor force, I can buy from you first, Len Ning said, as if I didn't worry about not being able to buy people at all. As soon as these words came out, the Zhang brothers became even more nervous. Tell me about the conditions you can give, Zhang Huai frowned. Little did he know that Len Ning was deliberately provoking them at this moment, but the truth of the matter was exactly as she said. If she really wanted to buy people from other bases, she could definitely do so. She doesn't even need to do many operations. She just needs to limit the supply of vegetables and food again, and a large number of bases will surrender. Not to mention, the major bases themselves are now in a state of food shortage, and people are even starving to death every day. She was right. If Quanglin could take this opportunity to get rid of the surplus labor force and reduce the population of the base to the point where everyone can have enough to eat, then he could free up the remaining energy to develop the base. Old people over 60 don't want it, children under 10 years old don't want it, and people with disabilities who have no labor force don't want it. The rest is 500 kilograms of grain for men and 400 kilograms of grain for women. Len Ning thought for a while and said, of course, if those who meet the requirements have family members who do not meet the requirements, I will accept them based on humanitarianism. But these people can only count 50 kilograms of food per head. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 437. Zhang Huai was silent. The conditions were too bad. Zhang Lin also looked embarrassed. This girl can really talk about such conditions. In addition to these, if you give me 500 people, I will increase your crop material quota by the corresponding percentage. Len Ning continued, give me 500 people, and the quota will be doubled. 100 people, then add 20% to the existing basis. Among the major bases in City A, Thunder Base now has the largest population, with nearly 9,000 people. The number of people in other major bases ranged from a few hundred to several thousand. She proposed 500 people as a comparison, but in fact, few bases could give her that many people. It doesn't matter. If there is no 500, she can accept 100 or 200. There are a lot of bases anyway. Zhang Lin's eyes lit up. Give 500 people the quota of crop supplies and double it? After getting rid of the 500 mouths that had been consuming food and getting twice as much food supplies, the base's predicament may be solved soon. The current population of Quanglin base is close to 5,000 people. It is not a big deal to remove 500 people. Taking into account the old, weak, sick, and disabled, it is not difficult to raise 800 yuan. Zhang Huai's expression also became better. This condition is quite reasonable. Of course, if Quanglin can give me 1,000 people, I can directly double the material quota for you. Len Ning's eyes sparkled. As soon as these words came out, the excitement on Zhang Lin's face suddenly subsided. 1,000 people? This girl has a really big appetite. Continue. Yan Yu suddenly spoke, interrupting the atmosphere at the table. The three of them came to their senses and then continued the game. After that, Len Ning almost never took the initiative to bring up the matter of buying people. Instead, Zhang Lin would ask Len Ning for specific details from time to time. In the end, he even expressed his willingness to take the initiative to communicate with the senior management and help Len Ning achieve what he wanted. Len Ning did not disappoint Zhang Lin, and his attitude towards him was much better than before. This made Yan Yu worried. Because he was a little confused, he played 2 wrong cards and actually played 2 Kong cards to Zhang Lin in a row. Zhang Lin was overjoyed and felt that his fortune had turned. After that, everyone played cards for nearly 3 hours. Len Ning finally pointed out that it was getting late and he was a little tired, so he suggested disbanding the game. Things were almost settled, and the 3 of them had no objections. So at 11:30 p.m., the 4 of them left the Wanqi gambling hall. Then Yan Yu took his leave, and the 2 brothers from the Zhang family sent Len Ning back to the city lord's palace. After sending Len Ning back to the courtyard, the 2 brothers left. But as soon as the 2 brothers left, Len Ning opened the door and secretly left the house. Len Ning casually found an excuse to go out of the gate of the city lord's mansion. Yan Yu was already waiting at the gate. Seeing Len Ning, Yan Yu breathed a sigh of relief. I still remember the appointment they made before. Fortunately, the wait was not in vain. Let's go and take a look at Han Yu. Len Ning's eyes flashed coldly, making Yan Yu a little frightened. Yes, Yan Yu replied. After today's interaction with Len Ning, he still dared to treat her as a little girl, let alone her classmate, and talk and laugh with her. Yan Yu led the way, and Len Ning followed behind him. Because Len Ning walked very fast, with a strong look of anticipation and excitement on his face, Yan Yu walked in front, and his pace involuntarily accelerated. Not long after, Yan Yu arrived at the destination with Len Ning. This is a very secluded place, built near a shabby prefab house. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 438. If it weren't for the dazzling red lights on at night, normal people passing by during the day would never think that way. It's right there. Yan Yu stopped and said to Len Ning with some embarrassment. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Let's go." Then he even walked up to Yan Yu. Yan Yu's expression changed slightly and he hurried to follow. At the entrance of the Red Kill, there are coquettish women soliciting customers, and there are also men walking in sporadically, but very few come out. When Len Ning walked to the door, the woman soliciting customers was a little surprised. The turtle slave came forward quickly. I thought Len Ning was here to cause trouble, and wanted to scold her and leave, but saw Yan Yu behind her. "Hello, Master Yan." The turtle slave obviously knew Yan Yu and hurriedly came forward to salute Yan Yu. Seeing that Yan Yu seemed to be very respectful to Len Ning, he was a little curious about Len Ning's identity, and he didn't dare to expel Len Ning at this moment. I didn't dare to speak casually, for fear that I would say the wrong thing. "Stand back." Yan Yu frowned and said to the turtle slave. "Master Yan." The turtle slave glanced at Len Ning in embarrassment. "Look at this woman's posture, she is going to enter the Red Kill. They only do men's business here, but they don't accept women. The women who go in are all having sex. How can ordinary women dare to come to a place like this? Step back and arrange a room for us so that Sister Kui can come see me," Yan Yu said in a deep voice. The turtle slave was stunned. He raised his head and smiled, glancing at Yan Yu with an "I understand" expression, then glanced at Len Ning and retreated. Len Ning frowned and glanced at Yan Yu. Yan Yu's face turned red. "Pardon me, Hall Master Len. Damn it, This fool actually thought that he brought Len Ning here because of. Len Ning waved his hand, forget it. Then he glanced at Yan Yu up and down. I didn't expect you to be so interested, then he muttered. While speaking, he also glanced at the colorful woman not far away who was soliciting customers. The two women were of average appearance, but they were quite old. It looks like he is about 10 years older than them. I just don't know what's going on with the women inside. This Yan Yu, at such a young age, actually. Thinking of this, Len Ning glanced at his mouth. Don't get me wrong, I didn't. Yan Yu wanted to explain, but it seemed lame. At this time, another turtle slave came out and led the two of them through the door. Len Ning didn't pay attention to Yan Yu at all and followed Gui Nu inside. Seeing that Len Ning didn't want to hear his explanation, Yan Yu felt a little disappointed. Then he calmed down his emotions and quickly followed. Entering the Red Kill, Len Ning found that there were many men and women inside, and the scene was even more unsightly. Master Len, come this way. Yan Yu hurriedly stepped forward and stood on the right side of Len Ning, shielding her from those eye-catching scenes. Len Ning glanced at Yan Yu, chuckled, and followed the turtle slave in front. She said that she had seen something more extreme and exaggerated. Does anyone believe it? Where did you come from, little girl? Run! Suddenly a rough male voice came. At the same time, a big hand grasped Yan Yu's shoulder and pulled him away. A man approached Len Ning. This man is tall and tall, with muscles all over his body. He is nearly 2 meters tall. At first glance, he is a power user. At this moment, the man looked at Len Ning with a lewd smile, as if she were a beautiful plate of delicacies. Len Ning's face darkened. Get out of the way, she came to see Han Yu tonight and didn't want to cause trouble. Yan Yu subconsciously stepped forward to stop him, but was directly grabbed by the man's shoulders and thrown out. Standing still, Yan Yu's eyes flashed with a chill, and his hand touched the gun on his waist. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 439. Len Ning glanced at Yan Yu and shook his head at him. She came here in secret and didn't want to cause any trouble. Yan Yu glanced at the man angrily, and finally put down his hand that was about to take the gun. Oh, you have quite a personality. Want to play with your brother for a while? The man's big hand reached directly towards Len Ning's face. Len Ning's eyes turned cold, and he pinched the man's wrist accurately. A strange thing happened. The man found that his hand was clamped by Len Ning and could no longer move. The man tried hard to touch Len Ning's face, and then there was a sharp pain. If you don't want to die, just be quiet. Len Ning said in a deep voice when he saw the man in pain and looking like he was about to scream. These words were bone-chilling and had a suffocating power that directly silenced the man. At this moment, the look in his eyes when he looked at Len Ning was not half lustful, only frightened. The look in this woman's eyes was simply scarier than that of a zombie. A strong sense of fear spread throughout the body, and a chill ran down the man's spine. You haven't seen me tonight. Get lost. Len Ning suppressed the murderous intent in his eyes and finally let go of the man. The man's hand dropped instantly. The huge pain made him want to scream, but he didn't dare to speak. His hand is definitely broken, probably a shattering one. Yes, yes, the man looked panicked and immediately ran away towards the door. He had to find a healer to treat his injuries as soon as possible. If it was a comminuted fracture, he wouldn't have much time left. If it can't be cured, his hand will be destroyed. For a combat-type superpower who has destroyed one of his hands, what awaits him will definitely not be a good thing. Yan Yu's eyes were a little surprised. After glancing at the fleeing man's back, he returned to Len Ning. Let's go. Before he could speak, Len Ning said in a deep voice. At the same time, the turtle slave who was leading them also came to his senses and hurriedly continued to lead the way. So weird. The man who ran away in panic just now is a frequent visitor to their place. He is a second-level power user. Because of his strong strength, none of the prostitutes or turtle slaves dared to mess with him. When he came to make trouble just now, he was still hesitating whether to go to Sister Kui to solve the problem. Unexpectedly, this woman actually solved the trouble by herself. What did she say to the man? To actually make him run for his life as if he was encountering a ghost? At the top of the stairs, Turtle Slave forced himself to collect his thoughts. This woman is accompanied by Master Yan, so her identity may not be simple. Just now, he solved the entanglement of a powerful superpower by himself, which was really terrifying. It would be better for him not to make random guesses or prying around. This is how you can live longer. Master Yan, please sit inside for a moment. Sister Kui will be here soon. Gui Nu opened the door of a room and saluted the two of them respectfully. Len Ning glanced at the turtle slave and walked into the house. Go and arrange some of the best food, Yan Yu told the turtle slave. Yes, the turtle slave quickly retreated. Yan Yu glanced inside the room with a complicated expression and walked in. Inside the room, Len Ning walked to the sofa and sat down. There's no need to ask them to send food, I have it myself. Glancing at Yan Yu, Len Ning took out some delicious fruits directly from his space ring, and then some snacks. Yan Yu looked envious. In the whole city there are probably not many people who are as wealthy as her. He was really squeamish, unwilling to give in, and looked like he didn't take their Quanglan Bay seriously at all. However, it still makes people unable to get angry with her. Try it. After playing cards for a few hours, you should be hungry, right? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 440. Len Ning smiled at Yan Yu and said, sit down. Then he glanced at the single sofa seat on the right side of the coffee table. Yan Yu nodded to Len Ning and sat down on the sofa. Try it, it's better than what you have here, Len Ning said with a smile. The content of his words was obviously a bit choking, but it didn't make anyone feel malicious. Well, okay. Yan Yu was not polite and went directly to take a grape. After peeling, put it in your mouth. The sweetness excited his tongue. Then, without waiting for Len Ning to say anything, he went to get the second one. Len Ning had a smile on her face and ate the strawberry without saying anything more. After eating 3 strawberries, there was a knock on the door, accompanied by a woman's voice. The smile on Len Ning's face suddenly faded and she looked towards the door. Yan Yu also quickly put the grapes in his hands into his mouth and shouted at the door, come in. The door opened, and a tall woman in her 30s walked in with her waist twisted. Ouch, Master Yan is here. He didn't say hello to anyone. The reception was not good, Sister Kui said, looking straight at Yan Yu. Seeing that Yan Yu's face was a little red and his eyes were looking away, the woman quickly noticed Len Ning beside her. As well as the rich and delicious fruits on the coffee table, as well as a large number of popular snacks. Fruits of this quality cannot be touched by ordinary people. So much more. What is the identity of the young lady brought by Mr. Yan? Hey, who is this lady, standing next to Yan Yu? Sister Kui asked Len Ning with a smile. On the way here just now, the turtle slave who led Mr. Yan and the young lady upstairs said that the young lady actually scared away the most difficult customer in their red kill. She just thought that the other party was a dominatrix or something like that, but she didn't expect that she was a soft-looking, cute little beauty. It's true that people cannot be judged by their appearance. Len Ning raised his eyes and glanced at Sister Kui. Ahem, don't ask around about this, Yan Yu suddenly said. Sister Kui felt the displeasure in Len Ning's eyes, and felt strangely afraid. After listening to Yan Yu's words, he quickly shifted his gaze to Yan Yu in time. I asked you to come because I have something to ask you, Yan Yu said in a deep voice. Because of his status, he occasionally comes to Hanjeo. Naturally, I became familiar with the boss here, Sister Kui. Even though Sister Kui is a woman and has no superpowers, her methods are tougher than many men. She is good looking and in her prime of life. Many of the guests who come to the Red Kill are interested in her, but I have never heard of anyone succeeding. There is a rumor that there is someone behind Sister Kui. But according to his investigation, he found nothing. Otherwise, he would not dare to send Hanyu here rashly. Oh? What did Master Yan want to ask? Sister Kui smiled frivolously, successfully making Yanyu blush. Yanyu was a little angry in his heart, but he couldn't get angry. Sister Kui often uses this tone when talking to others, especially when talking to herself. Sometimes it even gave him the feeling that he was being teased, which made him feel ashamed and angry. Very angry, but unable to get angry. Because strictly speaking, Sister Kui had never made any excessive physical moves towards him. He couldn't find a reason to get angry. If he forced it out, it would only make him look petty. Sister Kui glanced at Yanyu's reaction and felt even more interesting. I thought to myself, if there wasn't a little beauty opposite me, I would definitely tease this young man today. Ahem, the woman I sent before. Yanyu forced himself to calm down. The wood-type superpower who is reborn in the apocalypse. Author, Kiji Now. Chapter 441. The expression on Sister Kui's face froze, and then her smile faded. Ahem, go and bring her, Yanyu said in a deep voice. Sister Kui glanced at Lenning, who was looking over, and her expression darkened a little. That girl was promised to me by Master Yan himself. Do you want to regret it? Sister Kui looked at Yanyu with a displeased look. No. Yanyu frowned and subconsciously prepared to explain, but heard Lenning say. Bring it to me for a look. If you're satisfied, I'll buy it, Lenning said solemnly. Sister Kui's mouth curled up, her expression changed quickly, and she immediately returned to her smiling expression. That girl Hanyu is my money spinner now. She has no less than 10 customers every day, and I don't like her. Sister Kui looked at Lenning ambiguously, with an inexplicable desire to bring the person opposite her to her. It made my heart beat faster and my face turned red. Unfortunately, Lenning didn't do what she expected at all, and his expression remained the same as before. Even after hearing what happened to Hanyu, a light flashed in his eyes. Sister Kui finally understood that this young lady had a grudge against Hanyu. Also, Master Yan didn't ask for any money when he sent her here, he only asked her to take care of her. Since this young lady was brought by Lord Yan, how could he have the thought of saving that girl from suffering? After confirming that Lenning was not here to cause trouble, Sister Kui felt relieved. I'll pay 10,000, Lenning said calmly. It just so happened that she had won a lot at Wanchi gambling hall before, but she hadn't exchanged it for crystal cores yet. Sister Kui's eyes lit up. Yanyu also looked at Lenning. Then he looked at Sister Kui with a smile on her face. 10,000? Why do you regret it? If he had known that Hanyu was so valuable, shouldn't he have just given her to Sister Kui for free? No, 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 after all, Hanyu and he were classmates. It would be too unethical to sell her for money. For this matter in itself, he felt a little sorry for her. Can't think like that, can't think like that. Okay. Master Yan, please wait a moment. Sister Kui said with a smile and immediately withdrew. 10,000. Haha, this is the profit of her red kill for more than half a month. It is true that Hanyu is her cash cow right now. But at the current rate of torment, it won't last more than a few months, and I'm afraid the person will be scrapped. By then, let alone 10,000, I'm afraid it won't be sold for even a few hundred. Anyway, Master Yan gave it to her for free, and it has already earned her a lot of money. At this time, she had already made a lot of money from the 10,000 yuan sale. Len Ning raised the corner of his mouth and continued eating strawberries. Yan Yu went to get the grapes, but his mood was a little complicated. After all, they and Han Yu were classmates. They will meet later. Forget it, don't think about it. What is supposed to come will come. After the two of them waited for a while, there was another knock on the door. Miss, Master Yan. I brought you the key, girl, then came Sister Kui's joyful voice. Len Ning raised his head suddenly, and then neatly threw the strawberry into his mouth. Come in then, he said in a deep voice. Yan Yu noticed that a light flashed in Len Ning's eyes. Then, the door opened. Sister Kui led a disheveled woman in. Looking at the shy posture of the woman as she walked, Len Ning almost suspected that the person following Sister Kui was not Han Yu. After all, Han Yu didn't walk with such grace before. When the person approached, Len Ning finally saw the woman's face clearly. There is no doubt that it is Han Yu, but now she is much more mature than before, and her body has a great smell of dust.